Well, dark 30 on a Saturday morning. Grandpa's coming over here in about an hour or so. Gonna work on the air compressor, so. There. Debating if I want to put this little toolbox in front here. Mount it down between the frame rails. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. But anyways, I was thinking about starting a fire back there. I don't know if it'll really do a good job of warming anything up, but we'll see. I'm gonna clean it up in here a little bit. I was working late last night on projects and didn't want to clean up because I was tired. You know how it is when you work, and not saying you shouldn't clean up, but then all of a sudden it hits you like a freaking ton of bricks that it's like you're exhausted. That's what it was last night. So anyways, I'm gonna pick up all this stuff and clean up the shop a little bit. Hopefully get some progress done on that, and I get some footage of that. Hopefully we can get it running a little smoother too. All right, YouTube. Well, Grandpa just left. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to video like I wanted to of us working on it because really we were just kind of dinking around and, you know, talking, and went out for breakfast and stuff. And it was great. I loved every minute of it, but just wasn't able to make a video like I planned. But he came bearing gifts, which was awesome. So he brought me original, because, you know, when he restores something, or when you restore something, you should always, you know, use brand new wiring, and this old stuff's old. But he brought me a original wiring harness, which had a couple bad ends we replaced, and you know, there's a little spot the insulation was nicked here, so I put some electrical tape over it. But it's better than having no wiring harness. I could make a new one, but it's kind of cool to have, you know, actual Model A wiring on it. So I'll clean it up a little bit and get a hard, this is, I think the 30s came out with this style, and then the 28s had a over here, if you look, this is a metal one here that comes down, and I want to put the metal one on. I like those a lot more, but I might not be able to. This exhaust tube for the high pressure to the air tank is in the way where it's supposed to go. This will be rerouted over so I can put air filters here, because they're right underneath where the air filters are supposed to screw on. So this has to be moved over, and when I do that, I might just go ahead with the, you know, hard one, which is great because it keeps things from chafing. But anyways, he gave me a new wiring harness and, you know, a couple of things I need to fix on it. And then he gave me, this generator is not charging, which I haven't gone through it yet. Check out the armature and stuff. But chances are it's the voltage regulator. I got a new voltage regulator, and the really cool thing that he brought me that I did not know he was bringing me was a brand new Model A rebuilt carburetor. When I say brand new, I mean rebuilt back to factory specs. Floats set correctly, jets are dipped in solder and then re-drilled, and the flow rate is back to standard. And the throttle shafts are redone, so they're not sucking air through the throttle shaft. And originally he brought it, and I thought we were just putting it on to get this thing running good and to see if it, you know, just to have it running good so we could dink around with it and work on it. But he gave it to me, and I am super, super blessed to have it. It's a Zenith 2. I don't know what year the Zenith 2 was. Might be a 30. So anyways, and then I put an air filter on it. It needs a new element, but it's just sitting on there. But got that on there, which is great because all the pictures of all the ones I saw, factory, you know, Model A's didn't have an air filter, but it looked like people put air filters on these back in the day because of, you know, probably dust of being in construction environments and jackhammering and stuff. So another thing I did, we did together was he gave me an old exhaust, and it was cut off right here. We can see I welded it, and so I used the original 90 from here and welded it on. It's pretty thin. I'll end up replacing this and re-welding it and doing a better job. So that's on there. I have not I mean, I made an exhaust mount right here, but not a permanent exhaust mount. This is the factory Ford Model A exhaust clamp. It goes further down the frame, but I'll probably put this on and make some sort of bracket that comes up and looks nice. So that was that. This is the other end of the wiring. So these are all in nice shape. Of course, they don't get any sunlight. And got the new gas gauge that will go on. That one's an old one that's just, I don't know why it's got paint on it, but anyways, it's just on there. I don't have the new one in because I don't have the cork. You can get a neoprene or cork. My grandpa likes cork, so I'll probably buy cork. That's what's on that one, and it doesn't leak at all. So, and then he brought me this choke lever. It goes down to the carburetor right there, and it's not hooked up because the cal is setting too high. I imagine these are probably homemade, and it's setting too high. It needs to set down lower, and then it'll line up. So that was awesome. Got a bunch of cool stuff. We got it running good, and then I was able to hook up the governor and get all that done. I did adjust. You can see the clean threads there. I did adjust the governor and have it idled down a little bit more. So instead of like 1800 RPM running, it's closer to probably 12 to 1400 RPM, and it's just a worn out motor, so I don't want it spinning that fast all the time. He gave me a Model A front axle that has some stuff welded on it. I got to cut off and clean up, but it's welded solid. The spindles are welded solid, and the benefit to that is a lot of guys, this was on a trailer, and this one, the tie rod ends, I think one of the reasons it's on wooden blocks is these tie rod ends that are drilled and bolted to the axle to make it stationary. First off, those are only 5/16 bolts, which are probably fine, but one of those shears, this thing's gonna go flying down the road, wobbling all over. Also, there's wooden blocks, so from the measurements I've done, it looks like these leaf springs will actually, on a good bump, will actually rub on these tie rod ends. So I was gonna try to get rid of the wooden blocks, which I will, but it looks like also those wooden blocks are there, if you look, to keep that axle away from the bell housing. So I'll probably still end up having to fabricate a lift kit, if you will, and or that looks better, a lift kit there, and maybe just get new U-bolts, but to keep that axle up in the air. So he got me all that cool stuff, which was awesome. And another thing I didn't mention is, so these hoods, see right here, this hollow tube, that is supposed to go all the way through. It's actually missing on that end, so it must be broken at some point in here, but I'll just get a solid rod and put it through. But that I was missing on this fuel tank. This was my fuel tank. I must have took it off this fuel tank to put on that one. Guaranteed that's what I did. But this, he had one of these and sandblasted it for me. It goes right here and bolts down, and that way I can put my hood on, and then the hood lines up in here to here, and so I got that. Now I got to clean that up and paint it so it doesn't get all rusty. So that was great. And I got this coil. This is the one that came with it, American Bosch, and I just got it running with that coil. He did give me a really nice coil, but it doesn't have the bracket, so I'll either use this coil or use that one. That one does work, so it would be kind of cool to paint it, clean it up, paint it orange. It would look kind of cool with those, yellow spark plug wires. But I'll figure that out if I'm going to do that or not. This is the wire that goes from the coil to the distributor, and the end broke off, so I don't know. I'll probably have to put a new end on that. It's actually stuck in the coil right now. He gave me this that I'll probably use. I was originally he actually gave it to me a little while ago. I was going to put it on that pickup, because Model A's don't have a fuse at all in them, and it'd be a shame if it burned down. But that's all brand new wiring I put in, and it's in good shape. That is all used wiring that's not in good shape. So I will probably put this fuse on that air compressor. So he gave me that, got a coil. He gave me a new used but fairly good shape ground wire. Remember, these are positive ground, so positive wire cable, but is the ground. He got me a brand new in the box, quality, made in Japan, voltage regulator for the generator, since that generator is not generating any power. I don't know if it's the generator itself, if it's the armature brushes in there, or if it's just, you know, the voltage regulator, but I got a voltage regulator I'll put on it. And a couple of miscellaneous stuff. Some stuff I probably won't use. He brought this battery cable because he didn't know if I had anything to start it, but it's just a cheapy homemade thing. This battery tray, a nice one. Cleaned it up and painted it for me, sandblasted it. So that is great. So that way I can have the battery mounted over there by the air tank in the original Ford location. And I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to keep this box or not, but the battery would go underneath here, closer to under the air tank. But actually shoots from about right here over to right here, and it sits right there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet with that, but I do know I want the battery in the Ford location. I like that. I don't want it under the hood where it's going to get all oily and greasy and nasty. So that's what I'm going to do. I am also going to take this starter button and weld an extension that comes up with a bracket, so you push button to start here. You can reach over and pull the choke it, turn the ignition on, turn the fuel on, and go. And I got a couple more things that I'll go out to the garage here real quick and show you guys. Before I go out to the garage real quick, I don't remember if you guys watched any of the other videos, but probably only some people like Model A air compressors, so not everyone watches them. But I had to cut this stud off, and that stud was already broke off, so this wheel's only held on by 3 studs. And on Model A's, the stud is pressed into the drum. So he got me a new drum too, which is pretty cool. Okay, so in my garage that needs some serious TLC, there's another Model A motor. That hopefully will be mounted on a yarder. So that will be the plan. We'll see. Never really know. But this is one of my Model A collections. I got a lot more up in the attic, but there's the drum he got me. You can see the studs on them are in really good shape, and it's in good shape here. It's all where the bearing race is, it's all still greasy and clean. So I don't know what the story on it is. He brought me this 4-blade fan, which came out in 32, I believe, but I noticed all of the Gordon Smith air compressors have a 4-blade fan. Mine's all rusty, and that one's already cleaned up, a little dusty, but I'll be putting that on. Here's a distributor, Model A distributor with new bushings in it. This is, I don't know what this is for. Doing something, let's see. Tube over hose. I don't know. He told me, but I can't remember what that's for. More distributor cap. In here, some brand new brake linings for lining brakes. And what else did he give me? Oh, he gave me this. I probably won't use it. He gave it to me because he didn't know if I had one. But it's pretty rusty. He sandblasted and painted it, but I have the chrome one, so that'll go on there. And this is the old carburetor that was on it when I got it running on the last video. Works fine, but it's not a Model A carburetor, so. Oh no, that's not. That's just an extra. I got a bunch of carburetors here. This is the one that was just on it. This one runs just fine. So this one will probably end up going on that motor. But in here, some extra wires and some stuff he gave me, which was cool. I got tail lights for it. And, you know, I got spark plugs and all sorts. That is the tool for timing it. But anyways, that's pretty much what he gave me. And, yeah, you got to see a lot of stuff. And that box under there is all stuff that's unpainted and unrestored. And then everything else is painted. And, like, here's an extra intake manifold. So, got an extra cylinder head in the garage. And Anyways, this is a alternator, which I was gonna put on I probably still will, on the air compressor. It's a GM 1-wire, but it's converted to 12 volt. But last time I put it on my pickup, I don't think it was charging. So I will have to look at that, make sure. I could have had a wire on backwards on the amp meter or something, but it might work, so I'm gonna look into that, put that on. But anyways, that's what I got going on over here. For that motor, I got all the shim kits for the bearings, for the babbits, and the stud kits, and this is the cylinder head studs, exhaust manifold studs. And I went ahead and bought, I don't know if they were factory, maybe they were. A lot of people run stainless, but I bought the brass nuts for the exhaust manifolds. And here's a head gasket. And in here, in this bin, is all the gaskets, Model A gaskets. Might as well show you this motor since I've never actually made a video on it. This stand eventually, which is actually why I have, to begin with, that radiator that's on the air compressor, was I was going to make a engine stand and mount a radiator on the front of it so I could, build a couple motors, which I had at the time 3 extra Model A motors, and run them. So, but plans have changed, so now I just got a really nice quality engine stand for a Model A that's designed for Model A's. But this motor is completely rebuilt, and this is actually a high compression head on it. Let me see if I can take the head off here in a second and show you. Alright, so this is the head, and it has been milled completely flat. This should have about 1/8 of an inch. So they've milled this down quite a bit, which is high compression head. This motor has been completely rebuilt. You can see a little bit of discoloration there in the cylinders. Not as bad as it looks in the camera. It's pretty flat. You can hardly feel it with your fingernail. I honed these cylinders. Got water in them. But anyways, this is a completely rebuilt motor. It's bored 90 thousandths over. And I was going to make a little like hot rod motor out of it, but I'm going to put this head down. Hold on. Okay, so I was going to make a hot rod motor out of it, like a Model A hot rod motor out of it. But I, because bored 90 over, which you can go up to 1/8 of an inch, 125 on these motors. But I decided I just want to have a, strong motor that I'm going to probably put in that yarder or something. I don't have a yarder yet, but eventually I will. Probably like a BU30 or something, BU20, something like that. But it's all got brand new Babbitt and everything. When I got this, it was the nastiest motor you ever seen in your life. It didn't have the transmission or bell housing. That's something else I picked up, cleaned up and painted. But the story on it is a guy was an engine builder, built it for his son, for his son's Model A. His son wrecked the Model A and totaled it. So this motor never got put in the truck. Then the old man died, and it sat outside with no spark plugs. They rolled it out, I don't know for the estate or what, but forgot about it. And it sat outside for about a year with no spark plugs. It had pine needles, pine cones, nuts. It had a, mouse nest in here. And it was open to the weather. So that's why it has that water damage in the cylinder walls. I took the pan off and took it apart, and I noticed and I thought it was just an old block for a core. I was just going to tear apart and clean up and maybe rebuild it. Took it apart. It's never been ran. The Babbitt in it's brand new. Everything it literally never been ran, but it was so water got to everything and started rusting. So I took it all apart, took it to work on the lathe and polished the crank and everything. So now I just got to set the bearing clearances and put it back together. I already got it timed, and camshaft in, and valves in it and everything. So really I just got to spend a Saturday and get this together and running. But anyways, and then this transmission came out of a buddy's car that was a good transmission. I just cleaned it up and put a fresh coat of paint on it, but it ran absolutely fine, flawless, shifted good. And I took the top off, and the gears and bearings in are like brand new. But he put a Chevy 5-speed out of the S10 with synchronized transmission, so you can go faster down the road. And but I didn't want that. I wanted the Model A transmission, so that was a gift. So anyways, that's it for the Model A's, and the model air compressor today. You guys have a good day. Be safe and have fun. Enjoy your weekend.